At 2:03 a.m., my son-in-law was hunched over the kitchen sink, scrubbing something red off the porcelain like he was trying to erase a crime scene. The only light in the apartment came from the stove clock and the open fridge door, casting a cold, bluish glow over his bare arms and clenched jaw. Water roared. His shoulders were rigid. Whatever he was trying to wash away, he really didn't want it to stay. For a second, I thought I was still dreaming. Then he looked up, saw me standing there in my faded robe and fuzzy socks, and froze. "Oh, hey Margaret," he said, too bright, too fast. "Didn't mean to wake you. Just cleaning up a little mess." A little mess. The sink water was pink. I wrapped my fingers tighter around the cold glass of water in my hand. "At 2 in the morning?" He laughed, short and nervous. "You know me, OCD about the kitchen. Olivia made pasta earlier, the sauce got crusted, I couldn't sleep knowing it was there." He turned the faucet on full blast, as if noise could drown out my doubts. Under the rush of water, I saw what looked like a thin smear of something darker than tomato sauce on the side of the basin. I used to teach first graders. I'd cleaned enough scraped knees to know the difference between marinara and blood. Still, I'm 62, widowed for 10 years. I also know what it's like to lie awake at night and let your imagination turn shadows into monsters. I told myself I was being dramatic. "Couldn't it wait until morning?" I asked, forcing my voice to stay light. Ryan's smile didn't reach his eyes. "Nah, I'm up anyway. Go back to bed, Mom. You need your beauty sleep." Mom, he only called me that when he was trying to charm me. Tonight it felt like a bandage slapped over something infected. I took a sip of water, more to buy time than because I was thirsty. The tile floor was cold under my feet. Behind us, the hallway to the guest room was dark. Down that hallway, my daughter, my only child, was asleep with their 6-year-old Lily curled against her. If I'd been normal, I would have said goodnight and shuffled back to bed. Instead, I stepped closer. On the counter beside the sink sat a white dish towel, bunched up and soaked. A corner of it peeked out, stained a deep rust color, not bright like ketchup, brownish red like something that had dried and been re-wet. My stomach tightened. "Did you cut yourself?" I asked. Are you okay?" He glanced at the towel and moved a dirty pot over it, too casually. "Just nicked my hand earlier. No big deal." I looked at his hands. No visible cuts, no band-aids, no fresh blood. The clock beeped as it shifted from 2:03 to 2:04. The sound felt too loud. On the counter beside the stove, my iPhone lit up, showing the time again. I'd left it there earlier when I came out to get my nightly glass of water and ended up chatting with Olivia about Lily's school. Back then, the kitchen had smelled like chamomile tea and leftover pizza. Now, underneath the harsh tang of bleach, there was something else. Faint, metallic. "You should really go back to sleep," Ryan said, his voice firming up. "You've had a long day with Lily. I appreciate you staying over so much, you know that." "Appreciate." As if I was the babysitter. He turned off the faucet and rinsed his hands like the whole episode was over. When he finally stepped aside, the sink was spotless. Too spotless. No trace of red, nothing out of place. Even the sponge looked brand new. "You see," he said, gesturing. "All clean. No murder here." He laughed at his own joke. I didn't. I murmured. "Well, good night then." "Good night, Mom." I walked back toward the hallway, but halfway there I stopped and turned my head just enough to catch his reflection in the microwave door. He wasn't looking at me. He was checking the underside of his forearm, right near the wrist bone, where a faint shadow, bruise, peeked out from under his t-shirt sleeve. He rubbed it once, winced, then pulled the fabric down. I hadn't noticed that before. Back in the guest room, Lily's tiny body was a warm comma under the blankets. I slid under the sheet beside her, my heart still thudding. On the nightstand, my Kindle was open to meditations, a sentence highlighted. "Your mind will take the shape of what you frequently hold in thought." I didn't want my mind to shape itself around suspicion. I didn't want my daughter's marriage to be a crime story. I didn't want my son-in-law to be anything other than the man she'd chosen. But as I lay there in the dark, listening to the faint creaks of the apartment settling, I couldn't shake the picture of him, scrubbing the sink like he was afraid of what might be left behind. And for the first time since Olivia married him, a thought slipped in, cold and unwelcome. What if something in this house is very, very wrong? The morning sunlight came in weak and gray, the kind that makes New York look tired before the day even begins. I woke to the sound of little footsteps, Lily climbing onto my stomach like a cuddly alarm clock. "Grandma, you snore like a dragon," she announced. "Dragons are majestic," I whispered back, brushing her hair. "Be grateful." Her giggle was the only bright thing in that kitchen when we walked in for breakfast. Olivia was at the counter pouring coffee, pretending not to be exhausted. But what stopped me cold wasn't the circles under her eyes. It was the faint, thumb-shaped bruise on her wrist, purple blooming beneath her pale skin like a warning. I froze mid-step. She noticed and quickly tugged her sleeve down. "Oh, this. I hit the cabinet yesterday," she said too quickly. "Silly me." Cabinet my ass. Before I could push, Ryan came in wearing his corporate work face. Peppy, charming, overperformed. "Good morning, beautiful family. Who wants pancakes?" He had that cheerful voice people use when they want to distract you from a crime scene. As he moved around the kitchen, I kept watching Olivia. She avoided my eyes. She held her coffee with her other hand. She kept her body slightly angled away from Ryan without realizing it. These were details only a mother would catch. Lily tugged my cardigan. "Grandma, why are you staring like a statue?" I blinked and smiled, just admiring my favorite people. But inside, my stomach twisted. I still hadn't forgotten the 2 a.m. sink, the red water, the bleach, and his forearm bruise he tried to hide. After breakfast, Olivia insisted on driving me home. "I can take the subway," I told her. "No, Mom. Please, let me." Her hands gripped the steering wheel too tightly. At a red light, I gently reached over and touched her sleeve. She flinched. "Sweetheart, tell me what happened to your wrist." She inhaled sharply, then exhaled like she was pushing out a lie. "Mom, don't. I swear I'm fine. Ryan is just stressed with work. He's been trying so hard. Last night was just a misunderstanding." Last night, my pulse spiked. Did something happen after I went back to bed? But before I could ask, her phone lit up with a text banner. "Ryan, when are you coming back? Answer." Her hand trembled. She flipped the phone face down. "It's okay," she whispered, though her voice cracked. "He just worries." Worries? No, this wasn't worry. This was ownership. She dropped me off at my building in Queens, hugged me tight, and said, "Please don't overthink things, Mom." Then she drove away faster than usual, like someone returning to a cage before the door slams. Inside my apartment, I set my purse down and tried to breathe. My Kindle sat open on the coffee table, still on meditations. I wasn't in the mood for philosophy. I needed answers. I replayed everything from the past 12 hours. The bruise on her wrist, Ryan scrubbing the sink at 2 a.m., the smell of bleach, his hidden bruise, Olivia's trembling hands. Maybe it was tomato sauce. Maybe Olivia really did hit a cabinet. Maybe I was letting loneliness and late-night anxiety spin me into a conspiracy. Or maybe I wasn't imagining anything. By noon, I couldn't sit still. I took a walk to clear my mind. Queens was buzzing, delivery trucks, barking dogs, the distant rumble of the subway. But none of it calmed me. I ended up at the corner Starbucks, staring at my untouched latte while commuters rushed in and out. That's when I heard someone say my name. "Margaret?" I looked up. Lucas, the EMT from down the hall, stood there in his dark blue jacket, holding a sandwich and looking both surprised and warm. "You okay? You look distracted." And before I could stop myself, the truth slipped out in a whisper. "I think something is wrong with my daughter." Lucas sat down, concerned. "Tell me everything." And I did. Every detail, every bruise, every feeling in my gut I'd tried to ignore. By the time I finished, he didn't look skeptical. He looked worried. "Margaret," he said softly, "none of what you described is normal." My throat tightened. "I know." Then he leaned in slightly, lowering his voice. "If you ever feel something's off, trust that, especially when someone you love might be in danger." A small chill crawled up my spine. I wasn't just imagining things. Somewhere between the red sink water and Olivia's trembling hands, a terrible possibility had begun to form. And for the first time, I let myself think it fully. What if Ryan didn't just hurt her heart? What if he hurt her body? That evening, I couldn't shake the heaviness in my chest. I tried reading, tried distracting myself, even tried reorganizing the pantry. Which is saying a lot, because nothing motivates a 62-year-old woman with arthritis to rearrange canned beans unless she's deeply distressed. By 7 p.m., I gave up pretending I was okay. I grabbed my coat to take another walk. clear my head, or at least make my legs feel useful while my brain spun in circles. The hallway outside my apartment was quiet except for the hum of the old air vent. Just as I locked my door, the elevator dinged and opened. Lucas stepped out. His hair was still damp from a shower, curls sticking slightly to his forehead. He wore a charcoal sweater and jeans, not work clothes this time. He froze a second when he saw me. "Oh, hey Margaret. Going somewhere?" I hesitated. "Just walking." "At night? Alone?" His brows pulled together. "Let me grab my coat. I'll go with you." I opened my mouth to decline, then stopped. My daughter was scared. I didn't have the luxury of being too polite. "Okay," I whispered. "Thank you." We walked side by side down bustling Queen streets. Neon signs flickered over puddles from an earlier rain. A delivery guy scooted past us, yelling into his phone. The city felt loud, alive, and yet somehow I still felt unsafe. Maybe because danger wasn't out here. It was inside my daughter's home. "So," Lucas said gently, "has Olivia texted you today?" I shook my head. "Not since she dropped me off." "That's not like her." Lucas nodded slowly. "You mentioned the bruise, and the sink thing, and his behavior. Margaret, I don't want to scare you, but I've seen patterns like this before." My stomach clenched. "Patterns?" He exhaled. "When someone is covering up violence, especially when the injuries don't match the stories." My hands suddenly felt cold. I reached into my coat pocket and wrapped my fingers around my iPhone, mostly for something to hold. "Last night," I said quietly, "I keep thinking, what if he was washing blood from her? What if something happened after I went back to bed?" Lucas didn't dismiss it. He didn't tell me I was paranoid. His silence was heavy, thoughtful, professional. "Do you want to ride with me to Brooklyn?" he asked softly. "Just to check if Olivia's okay? I'm off tonight, and I'd feel better if you weren't worrying alone." My breath caught. "I can't just show up. Ryan will be furious." Lucas's jaw tightened. "Then he'll be furious, but Olivia might need you." Something inside me cracked. Not fear, not yet, but a mother's instinct finally standing up straight. "Okay, let's go." His car was a modest Toyota, lived in but clean. He drove carefully, hands steady on the wheel, glancing at me every so often like he was checking my emotional blood pressure. Halfway across the Queensboro Bridge, my phone buzzed. A text from Olivia. "I'm okay. Don't worry. Going to sleep early. Love you, Mom." Relief didn't wash over me. If anything, dread grew. Olivia never called me Mom in text. She always used Mama. Always. Lucas noticed me stiffen. "What is it?" I handed him the phone. He read it. His eyes sharpened. "That doesn't sound like her." "No," I whispered. "It doesn't." The Manhattan skyline glowed outside the window. Beautiful, indifferent, utterly unaware of the panic building in my chest. We reached Brooklyn, parked half a block away. I stared up at the apartment windows. Only one light was on, the kitchen. We approached quietly. The hallway smelled like someone had been frying onions earlier. I lifted my hand to knock, but before my knuckles touched the door, I heard something. A thump. Then another. Then a strangled cry quickly muffled. Lucas's face changed instantly. Training mode. "Margaret, step back." My heart slammed against my ribs. "No, my daughter." "I know," he whispered, "but don't put yourself between them. Call 911. My hands shook so badly I almost dropped my phone. Inside, something crashed. Then a man's voice, low, furious. Lucas leaned in, listening, tense as a wire, and then through the door, a sound that made my blood turn to ice. "Olivia." Whimpering, "Please, stop." I pressed call. 911 rang. Ryan wasn't just cruel, he wasn't just manipulative, he was hurting her. Right now. On the other side of the door, and I was done being afraid. The 911 operator's voice buzzed in my ear, calm and steady, while my own breath came in short, jagged pulls. "Ma'am, stay on the line. Officers are on their way. Do not enter the residence. Do you understand?" But how could a mother not enter? My daughter was on the other side of the door, crying for someone, anyone, to help her. Lucas stepped close, just enough that his shoulder touched mine, grounding me. "Margaret, look at me." I lifted my eyes. "You're helping her right now by not going in." Before I could respond, another thud hit the floor inside, heavier, like someone had been shoved. A chair scraped. Olivia whimpered again, softer this time, like her breath was being squeezed out. My hand slapped the door. "Olivia, sweetheart." "Margaret, no," Lucas hissed, grabbing my wrist and pulling my hand down. "You rushing in will make him more violent." The hallway seemed to shrink around us. The soft hum of the fluorescent light overhead felt cruel, like life was still happening normally while mine was cracking open. Then, footsteps pounded inside, heavy, fast, coming closer. The doorknob twitched. Lucas instinctively stepped in front of me. The door cracked open 3 inches. Ryan's face appeared in the gap, sweaty, breath heavy, eyes wide like a cornered animal. "What the hell are you doing here?" he demanded. "Do you have any idea what time it is?" Behind him, I glimpsed a shadow on the kitchen floor, a shape slumped against a cabinet, a woman's shape, my daughter's. My throat nearly closed. "Where is she?" "She's fine," he snapped. "She fainted. It's low blood sugar. She gets like that. I told her not to skip dinner." A lie, a clumsy, panicked lie. Lucas spoke before I could. "Sir, I'm an EMT. If she fainted, she needs to be evaluated. Please let us inside." Ryan narrowed his eyes at Lucas. "Oh, right, the neighbor boy." The way he said boy made my stomach twist, belittling, mocking, dripping with insecurity. "You don't need to play hero," Ryan continued, smirking. "This is a family matter, not your business." Lucas didn't flinch. "Her mother is standing right here," Ryan snorted. "I said she's fine." Then, as if summoned, a soft groan came from behind him. A hand, Olivia's, weakly lifted off the floor. My heart shattered. "Let me see her," I cried. "Ryan, move!" He slammed the door shut. The sound cracked through me like a gunshot. Lucas grabbed my shoulders. "Margaret." He shut the door because he's losing control. That means he's scared. And when violent men get scared, they get dangerous. "Step back now." I stumbled backward, shaking. "Lucas, we have to get in." "Officers are 90 seconds away," he said, glancing at his watch. "You cannot go in there before they arrive." 90 seconds felt like 90 years. Inside the apartment, muffled movement continued. A thump, then footsteps pacing, then something like glass hitting the counter. And then, silence. Dead, unnatural silence. "Olivia?" I whispered at the door. "Baby, answer me." Nothing. My knees nearly gave out, but Lucas caught my elbow. "She's conscious," he murmured. I heard her groan. "Hold on." Finally, sirens cut through the street below. Footsteps thundered up the stairwell. 2 NYPD officers burst into the hallway. "What's the emergency?" Lucas spoke fast, professional, possible domestic violence. Adult female injured, unresponsive, male barricaded inside. The officers exchanged a grim look. "We're breaching." They knocked once, loudly. "Sir, NYPD, open the door." Nothing. "Open the door now." Still nothing. The officers stepped back and slammed the door with their boots. Wood splintered. The lock cracked. The door flew inward. I covered my mouth. Lucas pulled me behind him as the officers entered first, guns drawn. From the doorway, I saw it. Olivia on the kitchen floor, curled, her cheeks swollen, tears streaking down her face. And Ryan, standing over her, fists still clenched, chest heaving. One officer shouted, "Get away from her." The other lunged, pinning him against the wall. Ryan fought, screaming, "She's my wife, she's my wife." "No," I whispered, tears streaming down my face. "She's my daughter." And as the officers shoved Ryan's hands behind his back, as Olivia lifted her trembling eyes to find mine, I realized the truth in full, horrifying clarity. The bruise on her wrist wasn't the beginning. It was the latest chapter in a story she'd been too afraid to tell. And tonight, finally, it was coming to light. The ambulance lights painted the Brooklyn street in frantic reds and whites. I rode with Olivia in the back, clutching her cold hand while Lucas monitored her vitals. Her breathing was shallow. Her eyes fluttered open and shut like she was fighting sleep or consciousness. "Blood pressure's low," Lucas murmured. He wasn't talking to me, but I heard the worry in his voice anyway. I stroked Olivia's hair, whispering, "You're safe now, sweetheart. Stay with me." She managed a tiny nod, tears leaking sideways into her pillow. By the time we arrived, ER swallowed her immediately. Bright lights, clipped orders, the squeak of sneakers on linoleum. I followed like a shadow, afraid if I blinked, she might vanish. A nurse stopped me at the curtain. "Ma'am, we need a few minutes to stabilize her." Minutes felt like hours. I sat in the hallway, hands trembling around a paper cup of water I never drank. My iPhone buzzed non-stop. Unanswered texts from neighbors, a missed call from my sister, a voicemail from Detective Carla promising to update me once Ryan was processed. Processed. Like he was a piece of paperwork instead of the man who'd put bruises on my daughter's skin. Lucas eventually sat beside me, still in his EMT jacket. He must have stayed on his own time. "You okay?" he asked softly. I gave a broken laugh. "My daughter is inside that room, covered in bruises. My son-in-law is in handcuffs. I'm Not okay. He reached over, hesitating just a second before placing his hand on mine. You don't have to be. For the first time all night, I let myself lean slightly into someone else's strength, even if it was temporary, even if it was unexpected. The curtain finally opened. Family of Olivia Cooper? A nurse called. I jumped up so fast I nearly tripped over my own purse. The nurse smiled gently. She's stable. She asked for you. Stable, thank God. When I stepped inside, Olivia was propped up on the bed, wrapped in a warmed blanket. Her cheek was swollen, her lips split, her wrist bandaged. And yet, she still tried to smile when she saw me. Oh, honey. I sat on the edge of the bed, brushing hair from her forehead the way I used to when she was little. You don't have to pretend anymore. Her chin trembled. Mama, she whispered, finally using her real name for me again. He didn't mean to, he gets angry and… Baby, I whispered, listen to yourself. She closed her eyes. A tear slid out. I didn't want you to worry. A sob tore from my chest. I want to worry. I'm your mother. It's my job. Outside the room, someone cleared his throat. Lucas, trying to give us privacy without leaving completely. Olivia's fingers clutched the blanket. I didn't even want you to stay over last night, she confessed. Ryan insisted. He said it looked good for family harmony. I was so tired. I didn't want to fight. My stomach turned. Did he hit you before last night? She didn't answer. She didn't have to. Mama, her voice cracked. I was so scared you'd think I failed, that I ruined my marriage, that I grabbed her hands. Sweetheart, he's the one who failed. Not you. Never you. Her breath hitched, but she nodded. For the first time, she didn't defend him. A doctor entered, holding a clipboard, glasses slipping down his nose. Olivia, we need to talk about the injuries. The pattern is concerning. Are you willing to speak to the social worker and provide a statement to NYPD? She stiffened, panic flashing across her face. I don't know if I should. Ryan will. Lucas spoke from the doorway, voice calm but firm. Ryan can't come near you right now. He's in custody. And even when he's released, there will be a protection order in place. Olivia looked at him, then at me, then at her hands. Her shoulders slowly fell. I want to talk to the social worker, she whispered. And the police. Something inside me loosened, a knot that had been there for months, maybe years. She was choosing herself. She was choosing safety. She was choosing truth. The doctor smiled gently. Good. We'll bring them in. When he stepped out, Olivia leaned her head on my shoulder like she used to when she was 13 and heartbroken over her first crush. Mama, thank you for coming tonight. I kissed the top of her head. Oh, baby, I'll always come. Outside, Lucas met my eyes, proud, soft, steady. And in that moment, in a cold ER room surrounded by machines and fear and the slow exhale of relief, I realized, tonight didn't just save Olivia. It changed everything for all of us. The next morning arrived without permission. I'd spent the night curled in the plastic visitor's chair beside Olivia's hospital bed, my neck stiff, my back screaming, but I refused to leave her. Every time she shifted in her sleep, my heart jumped. Around 7 a.m., sunlight filtered weakly through the blinds, turning the white hospital room a soft gold. Olivia was asleep, breathing evenly. The swelling on her cheek had dulled to a bluish purple. Her wrist was carefully splinted. She looked fragile in a way that hurt to look at. Lucas appeared at the door carrying 2 paper cups from Starbucks, 1 caramel latte for me, 1 plain tea for himself. His hair was messy, as if he'd run his hands through it too many times. You didn't sleep, did you? He said, gently accusing. I accepted the latte with both hands. Mothers don't sleep when their children are hurting. He sat in the chair across from me, watching Olivia with quiet concern. I stayed until about 3. The officers came by to take her initial statement. She was exhausted. They'll need a full one later. My stomach twisted. Is Ryan still in custody? Yeah, Lucas said. But he'll be released soon unless charges escalate. Typical procedure. I swallowed, feeling nausea rise. He shouldn't be anywhere near her. He won't be for now, Lucas assured. There'll be a temporary restraining order, and with the injuries she has, that order will likely extend. A nurse entered, cheerful in that unbreakable way nurses often are. She checked Olivia's vitals, then turned to me. She's well enough for a light breakfast. Try to encourage her to eat when she wakes. Trauma takes a toll. After she left, the room fell into a heavy quiet. Olivia woke around 8. She blinked at me, then at Lucas, then looked embarrassed at how swollen her face still felt. I look awful, she muttered. You look like someone who survived something, I whispered, brushing her hair back. That makes you the bravest woman I know. She swallowed and looked down, twisting the blanket between her fingers. Mom, I need to tell you something. My heart stilled. Anything. She hesitated, then her voice cracked. It wasn't the first time. I already knew, but hearing it said aloud split something inside me. Her words came slowly, like pulling thorns from her skin. It started, maybe a year ago? Little things. He'd grab my wrist too hard, yell and then say sorry. I believed him. I thought I made him angry. I thought if I were more patient, more understanding. Her voice faltered. I squeezed her hand. You never caused this. No, she shook her head, tears forming. He got worse. He started checking my phone, my emails, he controlled all our accounts. I don't even know the passwords anymore. Once, he broke my MacBook because he thought I was hiding something from him. I inhaled sharply. He'd isolated her. Bit by bit. And last night, I whispered. Olivia wiped her cheeks. I told him I wanted to take Lily to my friend's house for the weekend, just to clear my head. He got angry. He pushed me. I fell against the cabinet. I tried to get up, but... Her voice cracked again. He was so angry, Mama. I thought he might actually... She couldn't finish. I pulled her into my arms as gently as I could. Lucas stepped outside the curtain to give us privacy, but not far. His shadow stayed visible, like he was guarding the door. When Olivia calmed, she whispered, I was going to leave him. I'd even packed a bag. A pause. But he found it. I stiffened. So that's why he was scrubbing the sink? She nodded slowly. He cut his hand on the suitcase latch when he threw it. He thought he got the blood on the counter and he panicked. He didn't want you to see anything. All the puzzle pieces snapped into place. The pink water, the dish towel, the bruise he tried to hide. My hands shook. Sweetheart, we're going to get you out of this. Legally. Financially. Completely. Before Olivia could respond, the curtain slid open again. Detective Carla Brooks stepped in, notebook in hand, badge hanging from her belt. Mrs. Cooper, she said to Olivia, are you ready to give your full statement? Olivia looked at me, fear, relief, hope tangled in her eyes. I nodded. I'll be right here. Olivia straightened her back, wiped her cheeks, and took a slow breath. Yes, I'm ready. And for the first time in years, she didn't tremble when she said it. Detective Brooks pulled up a chair beside Olivia's hospital bed. She wasn't intimidating. She looked like someone's no-nonsense aunt who'd bring you soup while interrogating a mafia boss. Her calm confidence filled the room. Olivia, she said gently, flipping open her notebook, we're going to go step by step. If you feel overwhelmed, just tell me. We'll pause. Olivia nodded, sitting a little straighter. I watched her, the woman who once cowered under Ryan's voice, now lifting her chin as if trying to remember what it felt like to have power. Let's start with last night, Detective Brooks said. Olivia took a breath. He didn't like that I wanted to leave for the weekend. I said I needed space. He said I was being dramatic. He grabbed my arm and dragged me toward the living room. When I resisted, he shoved me. Her voice shook, but she didn't stop. Detective Brooks's pen moved steadily. Has he physically harmed you before? Yes. How many times? Olivia stared at the blanket. I don't know. More than 10. Less than 30? It grew worse. Sometimes he apologized. Sometimes he said it was my fault. My heart cracked. That number was too big for any human soul. Detective Brooks's tone stayed steady. And financial control? Olivia nodded. He changed all the passwords, restricted my access. He said I was terrible with money, but I've taken care of my finances since college. She swallowed. He used my name to apply for loans. I didn't know until I got a collection letter 2 months ago. My head snapped toward her. You never told me. I didn't want you to worry, Mama. That sentence repeated in my brain like an echo. She had been drowning alone. Detective Brooks lifted her gaze. Do you believe Ryan might seriously hurt you, or your daughter? Olivia's breath hitched. Yes. I pressed a hand over my mouth. Lucas, standing near the doorway, crossed his arms, jaw tightening like he wanted to punch something, but had enough discipline not to. The detective closed her notebook. That's enough for now. Olivia, with your statement and the evidence of injury, we can request a long-term protection order. NYPD Domestic Violence Unit will step in. We'll also investigate the financial fraud. Olivia exhaled shakily. Okay. Detective Brooks stood. We'll proceed immediately. She turned to me. Mrs. Hale, you'll be her primary support? Yes, I said without hesitation. She's coming home with me. Olivia's eyes filled. Mama? Before emotions could overflow, the curtain slid open again, and a social worker stepped in holding a clipboard and a gentle smile. Good morning, Olivia. I'm here to discuss your safe discharge plan. Safe discharge. The word sounded both comforting and terrifying. The social worker pulled up a chair. Given the injuries and your statement, it's strongly recommended you go somewhere secure. Your mother's home is acceptable as long as Ryan cannot access it. He doesn't have a key, I said quickly, and my building has security at the front. Perfect, she nodded. We'll coordinate transport once we confirm Ryan's custody status. As she stepped out, Olivia leaned into me. Mama, I'm scared, but I don't want to go back to that apartment, ever. You never will, I whispered. A soft knock sounded on the wall. Lucas stepped fully inside, rubbing the back of his neck. Sorry, I didn't want to interrupt, just wanted to make sure you both are okay. Olivia smiled faintly, one of the first genuine smiles I'd seen in days. Thank you for helping us last night. Lucas shook his head. Don't thank me, anyone would have done it. But he was wrong. Not anyone would have stayed. Not anyone would have protected two women they barely knew. Not anyone would have risked facing a violent man. I stood up, suddenly aware of something. The way his eyes flicked toward me, then away quickly, like he was afraid of revealing too much. I felt warmth crawl up my neck. 62, widowed, exhausted from trauma, yet still capable of feeling something flutter. Life is strange like that. Before I could gather my thoughts, the nurse returned with paperwork. Mrs. Cooper, we'll prep you for discharge in about 2 hours. Olivia nodded. Lucas turned to me. Do you need a ride back later? I took today off. I hesitated. You don't have to. I want to, he said softly. And for the first time since the nightmare began, I let myself feel something other than fear or anger. I felt gratitude. And something else I wasn't ready to name yet. 2 hours later, Olivia was cleared for discharge with instructions, a follow-up appointment, and a long list of warnings about rest, stress, and safety. She clutched the packet like it was both a lifeline and an indictment of the life she'd been living. Lucas insisted on driving us in his Toyota. I want you both somewhere safe, he said. I didn't argue. Not today. The ride back to Queens was quiet except for the soft hum of the heater. Olivia leaned her head against the window, eyes half closed. Her bandaged wrist rested in her lap. Every time we hit a bump, she winced. Lucas kept glancing at her through the rearview mirror. She okay back there? I'm fine, Olivia whispered. Just tired. The kind of tired that didn't come from lack of sleep, the kind that came from surviving. When we arrived at my apartment building, the front desk guard, Mr. Harris, looked up sharply at Olivia's bruised face. Need me to call someone? He asked, voice low but loaded. No, I said. She's safe now. That's enough. He nodded once, firmly, as if he understood everything without needing details. Upstairs, my apartment felt unusually small and warm. I set Olivia on the couch, tucked a blanket around her, and placed a glass of water beside her. She smiled weakly. You're smothering me already, she said. It's my spiritual gift, I replied. A tiny laugh escaped her, soft but real. Lucas stayed near the doorway, unsure if he should step inside. You want me to run to the pharmacy? He asked. Pick up anything she needs? You've done enough, I told him. Go rest. But he didn't leave. Instead, his gaze flicked to Olivia. If you need anything, you call me, day or night. Thank you, Olivia whispered. He finally stepped out, but not before glancing back at me with something tender, something that made my heart stutter in a way I hadn't felt in years. As soon as the door clicked shut, Olivia leaned in. Mama? He likes you. I nearly choked on my breath. Olivia, you are concussed. You don't know what you're talking about. She smiled, swollen lip and all. Mom, he stared at you like you hung the moon. I flushed so hard I considered splashing water on my face just to cool down. He's too young for me, I muttered. You're 62, not dead, she shot back. There it was, my daughter, wounded, shaking, but still capable of sass. It made something inside me unclench. Just when I thought maybe we could rest for a moment, my iPhone buzzed. It was Detective Brooks, I answered immediately. Detective? Mrs. Hale, I need to update you. Ryan was released pending investigation. My blood went cold. What? Already? It's standard, but a temporary restraining order is being served. Officers will accompany him while he retrieves essentials from the apartment. Is he going there now? I demanded. No, ma'am. Later today. You and Olivia won't be present. I exhaled, but only slightly. Then the detective's voice tightened. There's something else you should know. We entered his home office with Olivia's consent. We found, concerning documents. My stomach dropped. What kind of documents? Financial ones. Multiple loan applications under Olivia's name, and emails indicating he intended to liquidate her retirement account. I felt dizzy. He stole from her. Potentially thousands, Mrs. Hale, maybe more. I pressed a hand against my forehead, the room spinning. That's not all, Brooks added. My grip on the phone tightened. There's more? We found an unlocked folder on his desktop. Audio files. Videos. My heart seized. Of what? Of arguments. Fights. He recorded them to use against her. In one clip, he threatens to make people believe Olivia is mentally unstable. In another, he talks about isolating her financially so she can't leave. I sank into the kitchen chair. He planned this. Yes, the detective said. This was systematic. I felt something then, not fear, not grief, but fury. A clean, sharp, righteous fury I hadn't felt since the day my husband died and left me to raise Olivia alone. In the living room, Olivia dozed lightly on the couch, unaware of the new storm brewing. Detective, I whispered, voice trembling but firm. We'll do whatever it takes. We'll testify. We'll hand over every bruise, every message, every detail. He will not hurt her again. Good, she said. Then we'll get him. After the call ended, I sat for a long moment, letting the truth settle like dust in an abandoned room. Ryan wasn't just violent. He wasn't just manipulative. He was deliberate, calculated, dangerous in ways I had not even imagined. But now he was exposed. I walked to the couch, brushed Olivia's hair from her face, and whispered, "It's over, baby. This time, we're the ones coming for him." 3 days later, Olivia and I walked into the Brooklyn family court, with our hearts thudding like we were stepping into a lion's den. Not a jump in time. These 3 days were filled with medical exams, statements, police interviews, and paperwork. We hadn't slept properly. But today was the hearing for the long-term protection order, and Ryan would be there. Olivia squeezed my hand as we passed through the metal detectors. "Mama, I don't know if I can look at him." "You don't have to," I whispered. "Look at me instead." Lucas insisted on coming with us. He wasn't family, not legally, but he waited outside the courtroom with 2 coffees and a protective expression I didn't dare analyze too deeply. He touched Olivia's shoulder gently before we entered. "You're not alone," he told her. As the courtroom doors opened, my stomach twisted. Ryan was already inside, sitting across the aisle with his lawyer, a man in an expensive suit and a Cartier watch that glinted under the fluorescent lights. The kind of lawyer who specialized in intimidation disguised as professionalism. Ryan looked polished, hair trimmed, buttoned down crisp. A faint smile rested at the corner of his mouth, like he was confident the judge would see him as the gentleman he pretended to be. That smile made me want to tear the entire courtroom apart. When Olivia walked in, Ryan's eyes sharpened. "Liv," he whispered loudly, leaning forward, "baby, you don't have to do this. We can fix everything. Come home, please." Olivia flinched. I stepped between them, blocking his view. "You don't speak to her," I snapped. His smile vanished for a split second, just long enough to reveal the monster underneath. Court began. Judge Morrison, a stern woman with silver hair pulled tight into a bun, looked at the file in front of her and frowned. "Miss Cooper," she addressed Olivia first, "are you seeking a long-term order of protection against your husband?" Olivia swallowed. Her hands shook, but then she met my eyes and stood straighter. "Yes, Your Honor, I am," Ryan scoffed, loud enough for the room to hear. His lawyer placed a restraining hand on his arm. Detective Brooks approached the bench with a stack of documents. These include hospital records, photographs of injuries, financial statements, loan applications signed without Miss Cooper's consent, and audio files recovered from the respondent's computer. Ryan's head snapped toward the detective. "What audio files?" he hissed. For the first time since we walked in, he looked genuinely afraid. The judge put on her reading glasses. "Let's hear an excerpt." The courtroom speakers crackled. Ryan's voice blasted through the room, cold, cruel, dripping with entitlement. "You'll never leave me. You don't have money without me. You don't have friends without me. If you try to run, I'll make everyone believe you're unstable." A collective gasp filled the room. Even the bailiff looked disgusted. Olivia covered her mouth as tears spilled down her cheeks. My hand flew to her back, rubbing slow, steady circles. Ryan lunged as if to stand up, furious, but the bailiff stepped closer. His lawyer whispered something harsh, forcing him back down. The judge's face hardened. "Mr. Cooper, this evidence is extremely troubling." Ryan stammered. "She's exaggerating. That audio is out of context," she provoked. "Enough," Judge Morrison barked. Her gavel cracked like thunder. "This court will not tolerate your behavior. Based on the evidence presented, I am granting Miss Cooper a full 5-year order of protection effective immediately." Olivia sobbed in relief. But the judge wasn't finished. She turned to Detective Brooks. "Detective, given the financial documents and threats, is there a separate criminal investigation underway?" "Yes, Your Honor. Fraud, coercion, and potential domestic assault charges." Ryan's face drained white. The judge nodded. "Then Mr. Cooper is ordered to surrender all financial access, return personal IDs to Miss Cooper, and remain 500 feet away from both Miss Cooper and her mother." My pulse hammered wildly. Justice. Real justice. Finally. As the bailiff escorted Ryan out, he twisted back toward Olivia one last time. "You'll regret this," he spat. "Both of you." I stepped forward, voice steady as steel. "No, Ryan, the only thing we regret is not stopping you sooner." He was dragged away. Outside the courtroom, Olivia collapsed into my arms, sobbing. Lucas approached, eyes soft, voice gentle. "You did it," he whispered to her. "You're free." She nodded into my shoulder, shaking. For the first time in years, my daughter was safe, truly safe. But our story wasn't over. Justice had only begun. The air outside the courthouse felt different, lighter, sharper, as if the city itself had exhaled with us. Olivia held my hand as we stepped into the cold afternoon, her knees still a little weak from everything she had just endured. Lucas walked on her other side like a silent bodyguard, ready to catch her if she faltered. "You want to get lunch?" he asked gently. "Somewhere quiet?" Olivia shook her head. I want to go home. Mom's home." So we did. Back to Queens, back to safety. A few weeks later, healing begins slowly. Recovery wasn't dramatic. It wasn't cinematic. It didn't happen in some grand sweeping moment. It was quiet, fragile, made of tiny choices. Olivia started therapy twice a week. She learned how to name things she once swallowed: fear, shame, trauma, survival. I watched her shoulders slowly lose their habitual hunch, the way abused women make themselves smaller without realizing it. Lily returned from staying with my sister-in-law, bouncing into the apartment like a ball of sunshine, unaware of the darkness she'd narrowly escaped. "Mommy's got a boo-boo?" she asked, touching Olivia's cheek softly. Olivia's voice trembled. "Yes, baby. But Mommy's okay now." I had to turn away so she wouldn't see me cry. Lucas showed up more and more, at first with excuses, dropping off groceries. I was in the neighborhood. "I made too much dinner. Want some? Thought Lily might like this coloring book." But it wasn't groceries or dinner or coloring books. It was him asking, "Can I check that you're okay? Are you sleeping, eating, smiling?" I'd forgotten what it felt like to be someone's concern. To be seen. One evening, after Olivia put Lily to bed, Lucas lingered in my kitchen while I washed dishes, the mundane kind of moment that used to remind me how alone I was. "I'm glad she's healing," he said softly. "We both are," I replied. He hesitated, then added, "You are too, healing." I looked up at him. This man, almost 20 years younger than me, standing in my kitchen with worry in his eyes, and something shifted inside my chest. "Lucas," I murmured, embarrassed. "You don't have to take care of me." He stepped closer. "I know I don't have to." A beat. "I want to." My heart fluttered in a way I hadn't felt since before Olivia was born, before widowhood, before I convinced myself love was a chapter that had already closed. The night everything changed. A couple of nights later, Lucas brought over leftover Thai food. Olivia and Lily were already asleep, so it was just us at the table, eating quietly. At one point, he reached for the sriracha at the same time I did, and our hands brushed. A tiny, stupid touch, but my breath caught, he noticed. "Margaret?" My name sounded different in his mouth. I froze, napkin clutched in my fingers. "Lucas, I'm too old for—" "No," he said gently, cutting me off. "You're too beautiful for the wrong man, but for the right one." He shrugged lightly. "Age stops mattering." I stared at him, at his kind eyes, his steady presence, his warmth. A widow and a younger man. Unconventional, unexpected, unlikely. But for the first time since the court hearing, my heart felt something other than exhaustion. It felt alive. He reached for my hand again, slowly, giving me time to pull away. I didn't. The final turn, a week later, Detective Brooks called. "Mrs. Hale," she said, "Ryan Cooper has been formally charged with felony domestic assault, financial fraud, and coercion. His assets are frozen. He won't be bothering your daughter again." I closed my eyes. Relief washed over me, soft, warm, absolute. When I told Olivia, she broke down crying in the living room, but these tears were different. Cleansing, releasing. The past was no longer her prison. Later that night, after Olivia went to bed, I stepped out onto the apartment balcony. The skyline glittered faintly in the distance, Queens humming below. The night cool against my skin. Lucas joined me quietly, handing me a mug of tea. "Thought you might need this." We stood shoulder to shoulder, looking out over the city. "You know," he said softly, "you fought for her, and for yourself." I swallowed. I was terrified. "And you still did it." He nudged me gently. "That's what strength looks like." I turned to him, heart thudding, not in fear this time, but something tender, something hopeful. The city lights reflected in his eyes when he leaned down, brushing his lips softly, carefully, against mine. Warm, gentle, real. A beginning. Some mornings still surprise me, not with fear anymore, but with quiet. Soft sunlight slips through the curtains in my apartment, warming the small kitchen where Olivia hums while making oatmeal for Lily. The bruises on her skin have faded. The bruises inside her are healing too, slowly, gently. Like new skin forming under an old wound. She laughs more now. A real laugh, bright, unbroken. Sometimes I pause and just watch her, grateful for the simple miracle of safety. Lucas comes by often. Sometimes with coffee, sometimes with a bag of groceries he pretends was on sale, sometimes just with the kind of smile a woman doesn't expect to receive in her 60s. He always knocks once, softly, as if entering our lives is a privilege he doesn't take for granted. One Sunday morning, we all walked to the little park down the street. Lily ran ahead chasing pigeons while Olivia leaned her head on my shoulder. "Mama," she said, "thank you for not giving up on me." I squeezed her hand. "You didn't give up on yourself. That's what saved you." Lucas joined us on the bench, his arm brushing mine. He didn't say anything. He didn't have to. The quiet between us felt warm, familiar. Like something new taking root. For the first time in a very long time, life doesn't feel like something I'm surviving. It feels like something I'm beginning again. And as the morning sun rose over Queens, painting everything gold, I realized. Sometimes the softest light comes after the darkest night.